Peace, 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 everyone. Peace, all of the enlightenment and transformation family, and whomsoever shall find themselves on this evening or this dawning or whatever time it is that you're tuning in. However you have found us and however you've showed up, I want to welcome you to Enlightenment and Transformation. Of course, you are listening now to Thunderground Thursday. And of course, on Thunderground Thursday, your conductor that you're listening to right now is Yuya. That is my name, Yuya, also known as Chief Yuya by title, or Haru Yuya, or just Haru. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming through and for spending this time with me this evening. However brief, who knows? Maybe it'll be a brief show. Maybe it won't be. You know, seems like every time I say it's going to be a quick show, those are the times I do the long shows. And then when I'm ramping up and it sounds like it's going to be a long one, that's the ones I get a text or something. And, you know, I got to go into Batman mode and go put a fire out. So then I cut the show short. So maybe I'll stop, quote unquote, jinxing myself with that. But yeah, this evening we're talking about restoration. You know, that's the subject that we're dealing with. And, you know, what's interesting about it is that it kind of came to me, you know, the idea of restoration, well, like for a show topic, because what we're doing now as a part of some of the transitions is that we're really mapping out in advance more of the shows, what we're going to be talking about. And that also allows you guys, for those of you who have signed up for the newsletter, which I urge you to do, it allows you the opportunity to see what we'll be talking about for the strong. And especially, and this was an idea of a student a while ago, but we just weren't really as consistent with the movie breakdowns and stuff. But they had suggested, you know, how about giving people heads up before you do the movie breakdown so they can watch the movies first. The thing is, because a lot, like, the show's impromptu, because a lot of times the day of the actual show, I'm like, I'll break down this movie. You know, so we're going to avoid some of that. I'm not going to make too many big, huge promises like a politician, but we're going to avoid some of that and try to really just give a kind of an outline in the beginning. So, yeah, when I thought about this one, actually, restoration, you know, for Thunderground Thursdays, you know, a lot of times with Thunderground Thursdays, it gets a little tricky. It's trickier, really, than Foundational Fridays, believe it or not, even though Foundational Fridays, breaking down a whole bunch of spiritual information and all that other good deep stuff that everybody likes to listen to. It's a little bit more complex sometimes because on Thunderground Thursdays, because you're speaking about things that people need to do, that, and you don't want to come off as preachy, and you also don't want to necessarily guilt people into doing things. And then you have to kind of you have to scan and take inventory and resource of all the things that are not being done. You know, and you have to say, okay, well, we need this, we need that, you know. So with Thunderground Thursdays, they become a little trickier, you know, in terms of picking out topics. And plus, I'm always trying to pick something that's relevant, something that, again, you know, my thing I always say, that can be used right away, that we can get right on and try to get to those first steps of activism, because sometimes we forget that all of this is about really being spiritually active and coming to a state of ma'at, coming to a state of balance. And that's really what restoration is about in that sense. You know, what we'd be talking about this evening, restoration, it's restoring, you know, a restoration of not only your environment, but a restoration of yourself. So I was thinking about this particular subject, and the reason it came up was or the reason I picked it, I was thinking it was years ago, maybe going back maybe about 20 years, and I used to work for a company by the name of Texaco, which, well, heck, a lot of you are familiar with, because you got cars and you buy gas, right? So I worked at one of like the corporate headquarters, and this is, you know, when I was in the IT, and at that time I was a archival engineer. Uh, Basically just means that all of the data throughout the corporation, I was in charge of making sure that it was safe and it was backed up and it could be retrieved whenever necessary. Okay, so really it became a more critical position because around this time, and if it just you just Google it, Google Texaco jelly bean, just put those two in, you'll find it. There was this situation where one of the execs were recorded in a phone call calling their non-white employees jelly beans. So they were like, yeah, we got a bunch of black jelly beans and this and that. You might even be able to find the audio now, you know, because now, I mean, we're going back, but now with YouTube and everything, it's like you can't, people are restoring all of this old stuff that we thought was kind of lost. So you may be able to find it. But anyway, I was working there around that time. Well, I came in right after the incident, which meant I didn't get that payout because all the brothers and sisters, my brown and black brothers and sisters who were working there prior to me, they actually got a nice little package. You know, people were showing up to a parking garage with Lexus and, you know, and Mercedes and stuff, and say, "Oh, you got your package, you know, your jelly bean package." So I came in right after that, but it was a very interesting time because what happened was that we were not allowed, because they were still going through a court case, so we weren't allowed to delete anything off of the servers. Okay, so you figure you got this. I mean, it's a huge company, Texaco. I mean, I've worked at a lot of different companies like Microsoft and IBM and AT&T and Sprint, and yeah, maybe Sprint was the only. Was it Sprint or AT&T? One of it was one of the phone ones I was at. But when I say that rivaled the actual size, because the building itself was a mall, and you know, you had a downstairs. It was like walking through a mall, escalators, everything. It was a huge campus, you know. And I think it was Sprint. I was at 18. I can't remember. It's been so many years, and it's like another life ago, you know. But it was in one other place I worked where they were trying to build an office of the future, and they did that whole mall thing. And basically, what that is so that you don't leave. You know, they set up these companies in the middle of nowhere, and what they do is they set it up so that, you know, when lunch break comes, like, oh, you don't have to go anywhere. You could eat at your desk. We got a beautiful restaurant, takeout restaurant downstairs. Go downstairs, you come right back up to your desk. You know, so it's all a little con game, you know, making you feel really at home. You don't have to go anywhere. So yeah, so anyway, so yeah, at that time, because of litigation, we couldn't erase anything, and we had settings on the computers where people couldn't even erase their own files. And that got crazy because that's when I got to see how disgusting rich people are, you know, working in that environment. And they're like, yeah, you know, keep an eye on the security guards because, you know, they download porno and stuff at night when nobody's here and this and that. It wasn't them. They don't do any of that stuff. No, and they kept telling me keep an eye on the guys in stationary because they'll stay. And of course, everybody in stationary security, these are the black and browns. You know, my Latino brothers and, you know, the African melanin dominant brothers and sisters. But it was those execs, man. I learned about so many different forms of porn when I worked that job. So many different forms of debauchery that I never even knew existed when I worked there. The diaper porn, you know, people like to see people in diapers, bestiality, pedophilia, all that stuff. Because I was in charge of not only making sure that everything was backed up, but that there was compliance throughout. So we had certain algorithms that would search for certain keywords and stuff on computer, and we would see who was doing what. And of course, when we would catch the execs, there was a totally different protocol for them. You know, because of course you're not going to do anything to them. There was a totally different protocol for them. But so I was just thinking about my time back then and thought about the idea of restoration. And I said, man, you know, our job there, you know, at that time, And interesting enough, all of the people who worked in my department with me were melanin dominant. There was one Caucasian woman, and her Caucasianness is questionable because her behind was a little too round and big, and she was Amazonian, so I think she might have been a Sicilian, something, you know. And then there was I was a supervisor, but the guy right over me was an Asian. So, you know, if we really wanted to be dirty, you know, if we really wanted to be offended by the jelly bean thing, we could have really did something. But, you know, when you have people in that environment, they give us so many perks, and we're so programmed that they beat the worry out of us. So, you know, we just happy to have a nice job where when we go home at the end of the day, we don't have to wash our hands. We don't have oil and grease stains all over us. You know, that's how to keep you quiet. But so it was the idea, and I would say, man, if we really restored all these files, you know, like if we really restored them and brought them back up, imagine what would happen to this company. Like it would completely fall, because they were already going through serious issues because of the jelly bean thing, and people were boycotting and all this stuff. And they had all this like diversity stuff they used to do. Like at lunch, we'd have like the Harlem Boys Choir singing on the grass. It was all kind of stupid stuff, you know, people singing these unity songs and stuff. Like, we don't know what this is. Like, yeah, we got to hire some Negro choirs, man, to settle this stuff down. Give them, you know, pay them good. Make sure you feed them. Take them to the cafeteria. So that's what we used to see at lunch and stuff, and little like posters all over the walls downstairs of like rainbow hands. We're in this together, you know, stuff like that. But you know, you could laugh at that stuff when you have a plan. You know, when you know, like, man, this isn't my life. Like, you may retire and die up in here, but I got bigger things to do. And you could just laugh at it and say, all right, you know. But yeah, I said, man, if we really restored all this stuff and brought it back to the forefront, you know what would happen? You know how much stuff people would see. So I thought about restoration, right? When I was coming up with this show, and I said, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about, but it's gonna deal with that aspect, because when you think about the form or restoration really means to rebuild, you know, or to shore up or to strengthen what has been built before. Okay, when you look up the definition, or just, you know, you study the etymology of it, you'll find that you have which, you know, you guys know about already by now. Going back, or to look at the source, is or ra, of course, or re, or raet. And then you have stuarte, and that's where you get store from that word, stuarte. So, you know, the idea of restoration is to build back from the source. All right. So when you're restoring something, what you're basically doing is you're not necessarily uncovering its original strength, but you're bringing its original strength into manifestation. So, like, if I have a chair and I'm like, this is an awesome chair, man, but it's a little broke, but it's good wood, right? Might be, you know, some heavy oak or some cedar or something like that. And I say, yeah, you know, I'm going to restore this chair. I'm going to make it, it's not just about the aesthetics of it, but I'm going to make it as strong as it was previously, because that's what it was made to be. So restoration is the act of acknowledging, respecting, and bringing back to manifestation what something was originally made to be. You see, that's the key. So just like when I worked in the archival department, the idea there is that we have you guys in here to follow a certain set of protocols and keep an eye on all of the employees, most importantly the execs, because we don't want the world to see them in their restored form. You see, because you're dealing with people who at minimum are making $250,000 a year without the perks, without bonuses and perks. Okay, so they're making as much as the president of the United States easily, and they don't work. You know, they come in like at noon, leave like 3 every day. You know, they don't actually do it, because the higher up you go in a corporate environment, the less you actually do. The only people who actually work for real are the people at the bottom. You know, so the thing is, what you see and what you find is in the sense of restoration, what we're doing is once you get to that level and people have money now to be who they actually are, that has to be hidden. So it's almost like, when certain people began to travel the world, right, and they encountered other cultures, they had to come up with these fake rules of morality to hide who and what they truly are. You see? So now that, like, you look at America, which is, I mean, we could say America's old only because it's almost over. It didn't really have that much. It didn't have much of a lifespan. America wasn't built to last. It wasn't built Chevy tough. It was built Ford tough. So the thing about it is that now that people have come into a certain position of comfort, they're allowed to really show and restore themselves to what they really are. So yeah, you'll see celebrities doing some crazy, oh, we're going to drink each other's blood. We're going to have sex with dogs. I'm going to marry my dog. I'm going to bring laws in where I can marry my pet, stuff like that, because I'm restoring myself back to my original build, what I was designed to be. And you can't really be upset about that. Because at least they're reclaiming their original form, you see. So when we're doing this work, and I'm talking about the spiritual activist work, when we're really striving to come into a place where it's like, okay, we're going to take back whatever was taken. You see, we're going to take back whatever was stolen from us. We're going to reclaim the ideas and the destinies that were given to us by our Egun. Right? When we come to that place where we say, okay, that's the plan, that's what we're going to do, then what happens is that we have to restore our original and premier and primal build. That's what we're looking to regain and to come back into a place of. All right, I'm gonna get more into this. Actually, I'm gonna take a call. I'm gonna do something a little different. I know, you guys. Oh, I should have told you it's a live show tonight. 347-945-7680. I didn't even say anything, but we do have some calls on the line. I'll get into this some more, but I'm giving some people opportunity to build on whatever they want, but maybe they'll talk about restoration. So area code 903, you're on not Chief Speaks. You're on Thunderground Thursday.
Hello, hi.
Greetings. Yes, peace.
Hi. My name is China, and I've been listening to your show for a couple of months now, and I just ordered your book. And I know this is probably kind of off topic, but I was listening to some of your other shows about female energy and about saying how really we don't really have guidance unless we have like that strong, grounding male type of energy. So I was wondering how can we, I guess, develop that facility in ourselves if we don't have that directing energy, because I feel like I'm kind of just free floating out here.
Yeah.
Without like knowing where to go.
Yeah, the thing is about it, China, you always like it's a great question that you ask. How do we develop in ourselves? Because of course it's present. Just like right now in this very moment while I'm speaking to you, but more so when I was listening to you, I was expressing feminine energy towards you while you were talking just now, because I had to listen to you. So, in listening to you, that's the receptive aspect, where it's like, okay, let me hear what you're saying. Let me have some compassion for what you're saying. Let me empathize with it so I can feel you. And then the male energy will be, now let me express and come back out the other way, Okay. So yeah, we all have each that we have to develop and train within us. But really where that comes from, China, is the best way to develop that sense in you where you can kind of get some of that groundedness and that charge is that you want to surround yourself at least with images and representation of strong male leadership that you do respect. You see, so like I developed a certain level of respect and ability to associate with the feminine principle because despite maybe what I've experienced from women, which was not all roses and ginger snaps, I would surround myself with women who I respect. And when I say surround, I mean like listen to their lectures, read their books. Like when people come to my house, they always say, you got a lot of like Terry McMillan and like female. But I'm like, yeah, because I'm trying to understand how women think sometimes too, so I would surround myself with women who I respected, and at least in representation, even if they weren't physically present, to try to get an idea of how the feminine energy expresses itself. And in doing that, this is basic law of attraction, I was able to start attracting those type of women into my life because that became the standard of what I consider to be, like that's what I'm like. I'm looking at them like, yeah, this is what I vibe with. I like this. Wow, I'm really feeling what she's saying and things like that. And next thing you know, now that became my standard. So the universe responds and says, oh, that's your new standard. Okay, we're going to stop sending you poop butts and we're going to bring you some like, that you've been observing and admiring. So, that's the best way. It's like a twofold thing. Because if you don't appreciate the masculine principle, I'm telling you, and vice versa. If you don't appreciate that sexual principle inside of you, it just throws everything off whack. Everything. So like me, if I don't appreciate the feminine principle, then I'm not going to really express the masculine principle properly. And if I don't appreciate the feminine principle inside of me, obviously I'm not going to appreciate women. If I don't appreciate women, and that takes me down another path that I really don't want to go down. And the same thing happens with women. So when you learn to value those principles, then what you'll find is that you'll start seeing those principles come alive in your own psyche. Once they come alive in your own psyche, then you'll begin to sculpt and create a world that responds to that. So that would be like the advice I'd give you, sis.
Yeah, and it totally makes a whole bunch of sense because I really don't have that, I guess, around me right now, and then I keep dwelling on it, and it's like making me angry.
Yeah.
I don't want men to feel like they're like against me because, like you said, we're complementary energies. They're not supposed to be butting heads.
Right.
And around me, it's like all we keep doing is butting heads, and it's like I'm trying to, I guess, find a foothold to stand on or something.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. And I know it gets frustrating, trying to figure out where I put my foot down. But I'm going to say this to you, and I know this sounds real creepy and cultish, but this is the truth. And because I'm saying it in public like this, it will keep it from getting creepy and cultish. A lot of the women like yourself, you call into my shows, you talk to me, and I'm very honest with you. I don't care if you cry or I could care less. Tears may make me more excited. I don't know. But the thing is, in many ways, I am like a pseudo mate to a lot of women. And not that I'm having sex with them. I mean, I haven't even seen any of your faces. But when you're confused about something, you call my show. You read a passage in my book. You may get a reading or whatever it is. And I'm very clear as to what, and I at least if none of us are clear, I have to be clear about it. So that way lines are not crossed, because it's very easy at that point. Once you become the authoritative voice in a woman's house, so you got to realize that like there's always men around you. And I'm not just saying, I'm using me as an example, but there's always men around you that you can pull from. It maybe all of your biological needs may not be serviced, and I understand that's important, but the most important and critical one, which is that guidance that the water needs, that's all around. That's why the church is a pack. That's why the mosque is a pack. And that's why my show, the majority of the callers are females, because I begin to serve as that sun, even if it's a pale sun, in their universe. And my job is to have me replaced. So when women call, I say, yeah, well, get a man. You need to get a man, and then you won't be calling me anymore. So I want to be replaced, but in the meantime, really, I do recognize and know that I'm a placeholder, and there's going to be me. It's going to be other people too. So you start to use that energy, and then that also creates a standard, because a lot of you may put me on a pedestal that I really don't belong on, but there's a value to that, because that pedestal now creates a standard where you'll say, well, I need a guy like Chief who's always teaching, and I may just teach 1 hour out of the day, and the rest of the day I'm panhandling in front of the bank. I mean, you don't know, but the thing is, it creates a certain image, and that image, as grand as it may be, it starts to sculpt the man that you're creating to come into your world. Because remember, as a woman, you bring the man and you magnetize him. All that stuff that, a man goes out and hunts a woman, not really. He tries, but if she doesn't want to get caught, she doesn't have to get caught. You're the one who's bringing him in. All right.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. I see exactly what you're saying, and I really appreciate it.
Anytime, China.
I just feel like I kind of like have a direction to kind of go in at least till your book gets here, and I see all the good stuff that's in there.
Yeah, just listen to all the shows where you heard me going off on women and saying, "Listen, this is not just for you. This is for all the women listening." Just start with that stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I will.
Cool.
All
All right.
you. Have a nice night.
You too. Enjoy your evening, China. Peace. 903 Erica. I wonder what that is. I should have asked her before she got off the phone. But yeah, that's another thing about restoration that I was going to bring up. You know, how we interact with each other as men and women. You know, that's an aspect of restoration, because what were we originally built to do? Okay, fellas, look down. Okay, you see that? You see the carrot with the two potatoes next to it? Now that goes inside of a pot. The woman has the pot, you know, and sometimes it gets warm and the broth inside of it. You don't want too much dough in that broth, though. You got too much dough in it, you got to back up. You know, so you start to understand your original design. What was my original design to do as it relates to a woman and as it relates to partnership? That's restoral. So when we're aiming far, and listen, I'm not knocking ambition. Be ambitious, but sometimes we reach a little bit too much. Like sometimes we really overreach, you know. But when you really understand, like, okay, listen, I gotta go, but I gotta go. It's a Sankofa movement. I gotta first look at my primal instincts, and my primal instincts a lot of times will be displayed to me, and I can understand them just by looking at my primal makeup and design, just looking at my body, you know. And you got to understand that this society does everything it possibly can to change you. We live in an alchemicalized society. We just don't realize it. That's why everything you do is about giving you a different name and a different identity. I spoke on this on Chief Speaks before. You know, you get pulled over, they say license and registration. They don't say, sir, what is your name? License and registration. They want to see, are you invested in this system of getting an identity, of us giving you an identity? Social security card, here, take this. License, here, take this. Forget your name. Because you know what your name is? Let's say if your name is Malik Yoba, right? You know, real creative, like I made that one up. But let's say if your name is Malik Yoba. You know your name is not really Malik Yoba. See, that's what the society would tell you. Oh, your name is Malik. No, your name is Malik of the family Yoba. That's how real people, sovereigns, but real people actually understand a name. Because your name connects you to a family. But as soon as you say, and I've gone through this before in court, I've taught people this and stuff. No, you don't say my name is Petey Wheatstraw. No, my name is Petey of the family Wheatstraw. That's my identity, because my identity is not linked to your legal fiction. My identity is linked to a bloodline, and I'm restoring my bloodline every moment of my life. I'm restoring the privilege and the honor of my bloodline. You know, so this is restoration. It comes in so many different forms. I'm gonna take another call, because normally when I do these live shows on like Thursdays and Fridays, I don't announce it, so I don't really get too many calls. But you know, people are calling, so I'm gonna take another call. Both of these numbers look familiar, but let's see. 773 area code. You're on Thunderground Thursday.
Hello.
Greetings.
Oh, hello. What's going on?
I'm all right.
My name's Leo, and I was just I've been listening to you for about a year now, and I was just calling because I think this show is, you know, for me. I think it kind of fits, you know, been going through. Anywho, I found out about like Ifa when I was like going through, you know, some like rough times, and you know, somebody came to me and they had the Orisha beads on, and I'm like, that's spiritual. I'm feeling something spiritual. And they're like, most people don't say that to me. And I'm like, yeah. And then from there, you know, I started, you know, listening to your show, and just off and on. And then I got a spiritual cleansing. I got a reading, and my reading said Orosan Arbora, and I think it was a sign of tragedy or something like that. And anywho, like before I had that cleansing, I had a dream of Oshun, and Oshun came. She was a businesswoman, and she was like having a meeting with this man, and he was just like dark, and I couldn't really see him. He was almost like a shadow, and she kind of looked towards me, and I don't know how she looked towards me because it's a dream, but anywho, she looked towards me, and she's like, never underestimate the power of the great Oshun. And so, you know, that's something I've just been thinking about lately. And then, you know, one time I had smoked some weed, and I was on the train. I live in Chicago, and I was on the train, and I just closed my eyes, and it was this bird, and the bird was like dark green and light green. And when the bird opened the wings, it was like the most beautifulest gold dust just flying, and it was just unbelievable. And I'm like, okay, that's Oshun coming again. And it's like, I feel like, you know, Oshun is trying to rebuild something in my life, and this show is about you know, rebirth, rebuilding. And so I'm like, I guess this is like the perfect time for me to call and, you know, talk about, you know, what I experienced.
Right. Nah, I appreciate that, brother. You know, the thing is, you got to look at, again, what is your original form? You know, because Oshun is dealing with you when you're looking at a reflection. You know, you're not really looking at something that's real. And Oshun is calling you to look beyond the outer surface, look beyond the reflection, and you got to look into the message inside of it, like deep inside of the water, what's in there. Look past the reflection, you know. So that's really when we're talking about restoration, we're coming to a place where we're now dealing with ourselves in original form, you know. And that's kind of what's being built into you. You got to kind of look at some of the experiences that you may have had in your life where people gave you a title that maybe you didn't relate to right away. You know, people told you what you were before you were able to tell yourself what you were. You know, or able to even understand it. Go ahead, brother. I'm listening.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I'm kind of experiencing like an interest in these colors, green and pink. And you know, at first it started with like the AKA video on YouTube, and I was just so intrigued by it. I guess that's the right word. And then I started getting interested in Left Eye, the artist, and then I looked at her album cover, and it was pink and green, and I'm like, yes, what does this mean? Like, I'm just trying to tie it all together, and I'm feeling like maybe I'm supposed to be in entertainment, or maybe I'm just really not getting it.
Here, let me help you out.
And you know,
pink and green.
Reason I call.
Okay, I'm gonna help you out with something, brother. Pink and green are the colors of Erzuli Freda. There's two entities that use those colors. Erzuli Freda, which in our voodoo is a form of Oshun, and then you have Oba in Nigeria also uses the form of pink. And the pink, what it does is it connects those energies with it connects them with masculine energy. I know a lot of times we look at pink and we say, oh, that's a girl's color, but it's actually a boy's color. You know, so the pink aspects of them are the more creative and strategic aspects of them. But when you see that pink and green, you're dealing with Erzuli Freda. So again, it's that Oshun energy coming to you again, all over again. You know, one of the things that you want to look at whenever Oshun, especially when Oshun comes to men a lot like that, you know, when Oshun comes to men, you want to look at, and I know it's hard, but sometimes you want to consider if perhaps in past lives you didn't show the proper tribute that you were supposed to women. So you'll find that a lot of men who have certain affinities towards Oshun, they're also very comfortable with feminine energy. It's expressing feminine energy within themselves. And that's because you got to understand the ferocity of Oshun. Oshun is not this little sweet little frail thing sitting there with a mirror giggling. Oshun is a raging waterfall. You can't do anything with a water. Waterfalls power towns with electricity. You know, you can't do nothing with a waterfall now. You know, so the thing about Oshun is that she says, listen, man, if y'all ain't going to respect the women, if you're not going to respect the feminine principle, then I'm going to totally baptize and shower men with my energy and make them carry me to the forefront. You know, picture it like being a race or a battle, and you got Oshun energies in the back. Those are the women, and the men are like, nah, we got this. We in the front, and the women are like, listen, we need to come further up on the line because we got some magical charms to give you guys to make you strong. And the men are like, nah, shut up, stay in the back. So Oshun will say, okay, cool, I got you, no problem. And what they'll do is they'll possess men. So now, no matter what, that feminine energy is coming forth. You know, so that you want to really start spending some time, man, with Erzuli Freda. You want to learn about Het Haru. You want to learn about Oshun. But what you really want to learn about and discover is what can you do for the feminine principle in this time? You know, it may be you going into entertainment. It may be you writing a book, you know, that helps women to understand men. You know, it may be a lot of different things, but obviously you're being called to be a servant to some degree, or a minister, same exact thing, to that particular vibration, brother. All right.
Thank you.
Anytime, man. It's my pleasure. All right. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
All right. You see, now that was a great call, because I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of times when we're doing our work, right, we so hard up about, I mean, I can't tell you how many people have emailed me like, listen, I'm trying to find out what Orisha's on my head, but I don't have any money. Can you just do the reading for me? And I try to tell you, listen, man, the reading's not as important as you think it is, because you already know who's on your head. You know, of course, now, if my livelihood was readings and that, then I'm shooting myself in the foot. But I'm being honest with you. You know already. That's why when I do the readings, you say, I knew it. So now if he went to get a read, obviously Oshun is all over that guy. So now, and then what he's going to say, I knew it because look, I had this Oshun experience, and then that pink and the green, and and the AKs, and yeah, I can't get in the sorority, but you know, hey, I'm seeing this thing. And somebody's going to say, oh, because that's Erzuli Freda, who's a form of Oshun, and blah, 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 and you know, start breaking things down. But he already knew. Now we get our readings for confirmation. I'm not, negating the readings. And sometimes you don't know, or sometimes, especially for you who are possible children of Ifa, you got a bunch of energies, and you're like, man, sometimes I'm feeling the Shango thing, sometimes I'm feeling this Oshun thing, sometimes I'm feeling this Olokun thing. I don't know which one it is, because when you come in with that vibration, you got to work with all the Orisha, so it's hard to tell who's who. You know, sometimes the person will seem like, I get that a lot. I thought you were Obatala. Then I started hearing how vulgar you could be, and I knew you must have been Ogun. But then, you got away with words. Are you Shango? Then I saw you with the children. You got to be Yemoja. I never get Oshun. The one that I want, I never get. Nobody ever mistakes me for Oshun. But so that's what a lot of that is too. When you have the presence of all those different energies like that in your vibration, a lot of times that's because you're supposed to be doing a higher level, a more in terms of the hierarchy, like more arc work, where you have to work with more of them. Okay. All right, I'm gonna take another call. I feel like I'm doing a Chief Speak show, but it's all good. I get y'all in mid. I know mid strong. We don't really get to talk until Sundays, so 917, you're on Thunderground Thursdays. Shatavia.
Peace, Chief. How are you?
Peace. I'm good, Shatavia. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. So right now, I'm reading your book, Solutions for Dysfunctional Family Relationships. And, it's a lot of jewels and gems in this book. But for time's sake, I'm just going to mention one part of the book that I'm meditating on that I would like a little bit of clarity on. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to read it. It says, if you are...
hold on. Before you start reading this, hold on. You remember what happened? Sure. You remember what happened last time? You quoted something. You remember what? You sure you want to do this?
Yeah, I'm sure.
All right, this is different than last time? Because it's live. We live now. The nation is listening.
I know.
All right, okay.
I got you.
All right, good. I'm ready.
All right, so
drop it on me.
It says, if you are in a place in your life where you are still attempting to find out
who, what, where you are. Allow that process to march on without external misdirection or perversion. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, I'm in a place in my life right now where I'm still, trying to, it's like I know where I want to go, but I'm still in the process of finding my complete self. Now, how would that hinder the process of me dating someone or finding a potential mate? How can I avoid being misdirected or, pretty much how can I avoid being misdirected from my past while also searching for a mate while I'm still in search of myself?
Okay.
Do you have any guidance on that?
All right. Now you asked about 3 different questions, but we're going to break them down a little bit. Good questions. They all good.
Okay.
So I don't want any of them to get thrown by the wayside. So you're saying, how can I look for a mate while at the same time look for myself and know that I'm not going to be thrown off of my path? Right?
Correct.
Okay. So whatever mate that you magnetize into your world, you have to magnetize someone who's going to inspire you further on that path. And that path has to run concurrent with his. Okay. So let's say if you say my path is to, I don't know, have a botanica, we'll say I'm supposed to have a spiritual store that people are going to come to. Then you wouldn't want to look for a mate who wants to have a botanica too. That's not it. You want to look at somebody who's like, I want to own a mall, and you can put your botanica into the mall. So if you help me to get this mall, then we can put that botanica in it and the family will have that. You see, his purpose and his mission has to be overarching, in relationship to yours. It has to really be grander. And that's how you won't get pulled off. Because if you say I want a botanica, he says I want a botanica, then what happens is now we debate over what kind of botanica, then he may lose interest. He may go another path, this or that. But if you get someone that had, as a woman, now this advice would be different if you were a man, but when you get someone and you're dealing with someone whose mission has room for your desires, then you have something. You can't come with a mission and say, well, look, this is what I'm trying to do. It can't be that. When you hear what that individual is doing, and you should see it manifested, you should see them actively doing something. When you see that, then you could say, okay, I can be me in this environment. Especially the person is asking, hey, what do you want to do? You got to be careful. I'll tell you this, you'll be thrown off the path if you get with someone and he asks you what you want to do, and he says, all right, well, that's cool. That's what we're going to put our efforts into. So like, let's say if he just has some money and you want a botanica, and this is very tempting for a lot of women, you got to be careful. He's got money. You want the botanica, right? And he says, well, tell you what, I'm going to invest my money in your botanica. That's bad business right there. That's going to fail. That's going to fail because now he's put you out there on the horse as the pioneer, and he's the fuel behind you, where it should be the other way around. You should be fueling his vision of getting this mall or building a strip mall, whatever it is. And you should be the fuel behind that. And the botanica helps to pay for that. You see, that's how the exchange relates. And most of the time you see it won't be like that. Sadly. Most people screw that piece up right there. They'll look for equality. Well, we both always wanted to live on a farm, and it never works. Especially as a woman, you gotta look for a man who's gonna enhance you, take you to the next level. Now you can help him to take you to the next level, but he's got to take you to the next level. It's got to be an upgrade. It can't be somewhere we doing this side by side, because the way you think and the way he thinks should be totally different. So we can't really have a co-leadership thing here. So if I had the mall and I said, listen, this is your storefront, this is the botanica, that's your botanica. You ain't keeping none of that money. I mean, that money's going back in the family, but that's yours. If you're running it wrong or you're doing something, then I'll step in, because I'll probably would have had more business expertise than you do. But you know, he's got to have a large mission, and it doesn't mean that he has to be totally unleashed and manifested in that mission. You don't have to like see him with them all, but you got to definitely know that he's not making a lot of consistent stupid statements or stupid decisions where it's like you can clearly see he's not going to have this. He can't be 40 years old and still talking about, you know, when he gets signed, or, you know, when he try to sell his beats, you know what I'm saying, to schoolboy Q. You know, it can't be anything like it's got to be realistic. If he's 40, he got to be on some grown man like, yeah, I'm trying to buy this island. You know, I'm trying to get a resort on a beach. That's what I'm working on right now. No, I don't drive a coupe, but I got a nice truck. You know, so you know, you kind of have to gauge some things like that, you know. But that's how I would advise for that. And you obviously know that it's got to be somebody who replaces me. You know, it's got to be somebody. It can't be somebody who you give my book to and he's like, oh my God, this is amazing, and you two are learning together. Forget that. And I know a lot of people are shaking their head listening, but that's okay, because 70% divorce rate in America. Fix that, then shake your head. You know, so the thing is, it's got to be somebody who's already like, yeah, I know Chief. Yeah, that's my man. We were in Nigeria together. You know, if that's the type of information you need, it can't be someone where y'all are learning this together, because then that always gives you room to debate. And if he debates with you, then he's worthless. He's worthless.
And thank you for that information. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to say, is it fair to look for a mate that's more established than I am, or should I try to find someone who's on the same, you know, I guess level as me?
Oh, heck to the nah. You don't look, no. Then what's the point in having them? Listen, how old are you now? Like 25, 26 years old?
I'm 25.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's still old. I don't know why you went to, you said it slow like I was going to be impressed. You old. So the thing is, at 25, you probably would get with someone who's, you'd probably get with a 50-year-old. Because that's, you know, women are like that. You get with a 50-year-old. Like if he was in shape. Wow. And would you get with, okay, let me ask you, would you get with a 50-year-old?
I've never been with somebody.
I didn't ask you that.
But
would you?
Would I don't know.
Maybe. Okay, so the answer is yes, but exactly. So then why don't you just say yes instead of doing all that extra stuff? Oh, I know, because you like being on the radio. I know what you're doing. You stretching out your time. I see what you're doing. You slick. Okay, so the thing is, so you would get with a 50-year-old, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm saying the nature of a woman's thinking. Why are you getting with the 50-year-old? Because he's not immature. If he sees you on the street talking to one of your guy friends, he's not going to get out and try to beat the guy with a tire iron. Like, he's gotten the jealousies and the insecurity out of his system. He's more established. You know, he can help you out in life and blah, 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 blah. But it's that security, that protection. He's not an airhead. He's not in and out of jail every 6 months, hopefully, you know, which that's the trade-off. It's like, yeah, I'll deal with your, you know, pleated pants with cuffs in the bottom of them, because of the fact that, you know, you bring all of this other stuff to the table. You've already dealt with all your baggage and everything like that. And chances are you probably went to high school with his daughter. So, you know, you kind of would already know him. So the thing is, when women are looking for men, a lot of times you guys are looking for someone who's older, you know, and I'm not advocating forms of hypergamy, you know, where 50-year-olds are getting with 10-year-old girls and anything like that. But there is a value to that exchange. And you'll find as men, and I'm sure a lot of men can attest to this, older women can be very cantankerous. You know, when you're starting over, or you're still bringing women into your life at a certain age, and, you know, when you're at a certain age, you don't feel like dealing with certain things. You don't have the energy and the patience for it. And a lot of times with a younger woman, you won't, you know, you got a different kind of headache, but a lot of times, yeah, she is more pliable. She is more cooperative. She hasn't been burnt 5 million times. So she's got all this venom and resentment that she's throwing back at you. So you'll find that a lot of times those age disparity relationships like that, they work out very well, because the exchange is really more of like a business transaction. it's very clear that if we're going to get together, it's not just because we fell in love with each other, but it's because maybe you're young and I see you as a breeder, and I'm older and you see me as a provider. Done. You know. So yeah, I would advise, definitely, you want to get with someone who's more established, but you also want to be worthy of getting with someone who's more established. You know, bringing your vagina to the table is not enough, especially for somebody who's established. They're not excited that much by vagina anymore. You have to show them how. If I have $500,000 in the bank, you got to show me how you can double that with me. That's what I need to see. You know, but just saying I need somebody who's more that's not enough. Because why would he want to step down to bring you up into his world? There's got to be a good reason. And pretty face or big hips or whatever it is you think you might have, that's not going to be it. He's got to see that you can help me to expand my empire. That's why I'm pulling you up. If you can't help me to expand my empire and you're a possible liability, whether it be through child support foolishness or just you acting like a donkey and not having any elegance or grace in certain environments, then nah, I'm not going to pull you up. I may go slum with you, you know, but you're not coming up here. So you have to make yourself worthy of that. Check out the show on Kama Sutra that I did. It's a good start. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Shatavia. You done milked your 15 minutes. All right. Peace. Good questions, though. That was a really good question. And somebody was sending me some messages about, when you deal with older men, you have to deal with, you know, soggy testicles and gray hairs on the scrotum. Yeah, maybe you do. Maybe you do have to deal with those things, you know, but you also get the security, you know, you get the security. He deals with your taco meat stomach, you know, from all the children, and your inability to dance like anyone other than a drunk aunt at a party. Come on, dance with me, nephew. You know, that one. He deals with all of that. So it's a trade-off. You know, it's basically a trade-off of grossness. You know, it's a test of wills when you're getting with an older person, and you want to test and see if your stomach can really, if you have an iron stomach or not. All right, I'm gonna take another call because we only got a few minutes left. I don't know if I even got into my subject enough, but that's all right. I can roll over into it on Friday with some rollover loving. 813, you're on. Whoa. All right, you're on Thunderground Thursday.
You got me?
Yeah, we got you.
What's going on, Chief?
Good.
Yeah, what's up, Chief? This is War.
Hey, peace, brother.
Man, I missed the first half of the show. So I know we're talking about restoration, so I don't know exactly what was said, but I got just two questions. You can tie them together.
For sure.
Try to keep it quick because I know you're at the end of the show. My first question, I've been doing some research on Olofin, and now I understand that from what I'm gathering is that Olofi is a conduit between Aye and Orun from the information from earth to heavens. But if you have anything you could add on to that, maybe kind of direct me to a good direction. And what is the issue with mixing systems? Like right today is the day of Ganesh, you know, and everybody's been saying the Om, the mantra, Om. I gotta say it slow. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. So everybody's been saying that concept with the Hindu religion. Now, like even in the book, we start synchronizing these deities because they're all particularly the same energy in reality to me. But what is the problem with? Is there a problem with that? Because I've been told by we don't want to call them elders, but like Babalaos that are my age, my peers, that's not the way to do it. You can't do it. You're not supposed to do it like that.
Yeah.
And that was my question.
Okay, cool. So the first one, dealing with Olofin, what you described or who you described is Eshu. the reason why a lot of times people confuse opportunity. A lot of times people confuse the attributes of Eshu with Olofin is because Olofin deals with Ashe. And Olofin is like, you know, we know that Eshu is the holder of Ashe. He holds it in the calabash. He gets that Ashe from Olofin. Okay, so it's not so much that he's like a gateway between Orun and Aye. It's more so like he is the one who sprinkles down the power from Orun. You see, that's the aspect. And Olofin is an aspect of Olodumare. So that's, you know, Olofin is not like an Orisha or anything like that. That's one of the higher aspects, but that's the aspect of energy that's shared. Right. So we know that Ashe itself is an energetic force. Eshu is the holder of said Ashe. Olofin is a distributor to Eshu to give the Ashe.
Now, I was having a conversation with some Babalaos, and they were refusing to tell me the concept of Olofin.
Yeah.
And well, my own interest, I looked it up online and did try to do some research.
I mean, there's more to it. I mean, but you know, there's more I could say about Olofin. So I mean, maybe they didn't want to go deep into. I don't know. You know, I wasn't there, of course. But you know, I'm just really addressing.
They stated it like it was something that you're not supposed to know about.
Okay. So, I mean, you know,
go for that. But to answer the second question, mixing.
You can mix systems. Don't worry about it. You can mix systems, but that's what I'm teaching you. If you have people that you're working with that say no, don't mix systems, then you got to respect your teachers. But the thing is,
with me personally, is that those teachers weren't really teachers. So, and this over years that I had to grow out of. You know, you have to be around people that actually serve you to a certain degree. You can't be around people all the time that are not helping you grow. So I had to kind of separate myself from that. My old dude kind of calls for separation too. So, but just to move from there, just the idea of mixing these, because I really break it down to my DNA. You feel me? I'm 40% Caucasian or European, and I'm 60% indigenous. Out of that, I'm 30% African. So I think like the Hindu religions and a lot of the Arabian concepts is in my blood. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can look at it like that if you want.
So I look at it like that to a certain degree. So I don't mind mixing those two systems because they're familiar to me. So.
I mean, if you feel that you have a blood right to certain systems.
90 seconds.
90 seconds, everyone. We're getting ready to go in the archives, just so you know. So if you're not called in, call in 347-945-7680 so you don't get hung up on. But yeah, if you feel you have a blood right to I'm actually gonna put you on mute, brother. Thanks for the call because there's a lot of noise in the back. If you have a blood right to certain systems, yeah, why not? You know, a lot of times people will say don't mix systems because
60 seconds
because they're concerned about you basically shooting your eye out. You know, they know that, hey, if I'm dealing with Ifa and I have some level of proficient understanding of Ifa and I'm teaching you Ifa and you say, okay, now I want to mix Sangoma with it. And I don't know anything about Sangoma. I can't really watch you. I can't monitor you. I don't know if you're going to go hurt yourself because a lot of people are really accustomed to the idea that you always have to have a teacher. So, you know, some people may say don't mix systems because it's like you're going to step outside of a realm where I can't really do anything for you. And you might go contract something that I may not know how to get off of you. So sometimes there's some fear involved. I don't teach like that, but I don't knock people who do. I don't knock any teacher, period. Because if
10 seconds.
Somebody's taking out time to help you, then I'm all for it, you know, whether I agree with them or not. But if someone's taking time out of their day in this fast-paced world that we live in to share some information, then more power to them. You know, okay, we're now in archives, everyone, just so you know. But yeah, of course I mix systems. I mean, heck, you could look at my name and see that it's a mixed system name. You know, So yeah, but see, to me, I don't see them as systems so much. I use the term system. It's just understandings, man. And as we travel the world and we see ourselves as global residents of the world, we'll stop seeing all these divisive lines that others have put and said, well, this is this group and that's that group. And nah. That's like saying if I'm on the East Coast and we have a certain dance over here, and on the West Coast they have another dance, you can't blend the two together because that's mixing. It's just that ludicrous. There was a time back in the 90s when people started wearing braids. The first person we really saw wearing braids was not just West Coast people, but Tretch from Naughty by Nature. He had the braids. Next thing you know, braids was like the phenomenon for up until just recent. Really, now young people are not really growing braids as much, but braids kind of held their own for like 20 years. That was the style to wear braids. Of course, a lot of that was economic, because I can't afford haircuts. But the thing is, that was a West Coast thing. So it didn't mean that now because we rocking braids like the West Coast, now we also wearing khakis and Chuck Taylors. We still wearing camouflage and Timberland boots, but we got braids. So there's a mixture of things because we recognize that around the world that we're a global family. That's the bottom line. And nobody comes to these solutions and conclusions in their backyard. That's silly. That's that Western thought. Like, such and such was the Messiah of the world. It's one person, and they walked around, half a continent. Well, what about the rest of the world? Oh, well, they're just SOL. Yeah, they're just SOL. Unless we go in there and invade them and bring them the good word. Then they can be saved because the Messiah didn't walk over that part. You see the stupidness? Nah, you can mix systems because you're not really mixing systems. Each system itself is just one person's understanding of a cosmic phenomenon. So you could say my grandmother understood the cosmic phenomenon like this, and my grandfather understood it like that. Okay, and I understand it like this. You see, we all going to have different ways that we're going to look at things. And the more systems you learn, the more the story becomes fleshed out, because the truth is, like I've said many times, is that all these systems have been invaded. So once you understand that every indigenous system has been invaded, you're not getting a restored truth. The only way you can restore, we're going right back to the subject, the truth of these indigenous systems is for you to live them out, to live out the little bit that you know. And then you're going to start seeing that on some levels, you're going to start to terraform based on the information that you're receiving. You see, you start taking in just a little bit of information that you may know about indigenous systems, you're going to start behaving like an indigenous person. And that's the only option that you're going to see. And then now you become rebuilt inside of you. That original design and build that you were meant to be is going to come alive inside of you because you've applied what it is that you've learned, as opposed to just sitting here and analyzing and saying, okay, there's this system, and we can't assimilate them together. How do you know? Have you tried it? And have you understood that at the end of the day, these different systems that you're looking at, they're geographic. Based on how I related to this side of the mountain. Maybe I lived on the sunny side of the mountain. You lived on the shady side of the mountain. So our understanding of Obatala is going to be completely different. You're going to say Obatala is cool and still and cold. I'm going to say Obatala is light. You see? And warm and sheds lights and brings life. Because I lived on the sunny side of the mountain, but it's the same freaking mountain. Now, the person who comes to the better understanding of all of this is the one who gets up off their behind and climbs the mountain for themselves. Then when they get to the peak, they'll say, oh, it's dark on the other side and it's light on this side. Huh. So now how do those two coexist together? That's where the new understanding comes from. Just like when you look at the Great Pyramids in Kemet. We look at the pyramids because people haven't decided to take the trip there. And I understand it's a little pricey, but you can save up. It may take you 10 years, but you can get there. And a lot of people will say, wow, it's 4 sides. They start breaking down the science. How many times I heard people break down the science for us? Now I've been there. I've heard people break that science down, and it's like, you don't even know the pyramids had 8 sides. They're not 4-sided. Go look again. It's 8. It looks like 4 sides because of how perfectly they're cut. So now that changes your whole theory because it's not a 4-sided pyramid. You see? But until you go there and experience it, you won't understand really how these different theories and ideas may have come about, because different people had different perspectives, and maybe because different people had a different relationship with that energy. Some people may not have seen lightning up close, so their understanding of Shango or Haru is going to be one thing than somebody who's been struck by lightning. You see? All right, we're going to take one more call. I think I know who this is. 651 area code. You're on Chief Speaks.
Thank you. Greetings, Chief.
Greetings, G Money.
My question is, so I got the definition of restoration, which is to return something back to its original condition, but I didn't really hear the answer. So my question is, am I too old for restoration, or am I now looking to transform who I am into what or who I desire to be?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that second part was a little. I mean, okay, let's say it like this, because you answered your question with the second part of your question. Your transformation, your journey to transformation in this life is a journey back to your original intention. Because, right, the first thing that you always hear me say, and you've gotten readings by me, I'll say, what is your life purpose? And everybody says the same thing. I don't know. And I already know that you don't know, but I got to let you know that we both know now that you don't know. Well, the uncovering of that life purpose is the restoration, because I was built and designed for a certain purpose. Now I can figure out that purpose and on some level fulfill it at any time in my life. Like if I know I was designed to teach, I could be 90 years old and finally come to that understanding, and I'll teach someone next to me in the hospital bed. I'll find somewhere, and most likely you'll see that you already were doing something based on your design, but the restoration of it is to receive the unadulterated aspect of that purpose, but no, you're not too old. The truth is you're never too old to move towards restoration in your original build and design, because in reality, what you were originally built here and put on the earth for, you can take 1,000,001 detours and still get there. And it may not be something that you're supposed to be and do for the next 40 years. It may be something that you're just supposed to be and do for 5 minutes at one time in your life, that you're supposed to represent this. That's why a lot of times you see with so many celebrities, they expire early. Take a look at Michael Clark Duncan. I think he died when he was like 54. Big strong guy, but he's gone now. But he had his career. He was out for a little while and he was gone. But there was a certain representation that he left on the movie screen for the rest of us. So sometimes your purpose and your original build that you get restored to, really what it deals with is restoring yourself to your divine privilege. And that divine privilege is understanding that, hey, I was sent with a mission. I'm not just here meandering. So when I come to a place of restoration, it's like, no, I have a purpose. I have a mission, and that's the path I'm on. That's restored. Because if we have a chair, using that furniture example that we used earlier, and we restore that chair, right? That chair may not get as many butts in it anymore as it might have had the past 20 years. But we restored it to what it was originally built to do. If we say, hey, this chair is designed to hold 300 pounds. And over the years, it gets a little rickety. It can only hold 100 pounds. So, hey, we're going to restore it so it can hold 300 pounds. Now, a 300-pound person may never sit in that chair again, but it's been restored to its original intention. And there's a great value in that, the intention. You may not totally fulfill the purpose, but when you when you refresh the intention, then what you do is you send out another wave through the universe. And say, okay, this person, like if you're supposed to have someone like me in the world, you just have to add up my attributes. I don't know, black man, teacher, this or that, whatever those attributes are, because it's going to be a formula that no one else on the planet has right now for this time, whatever it is. When I refresh that original intention, because that may be a component, a cog that needs to be present in the machination of the universe right now. So when I refresh that cog, I let the universe know, hey, I put some oil on my cog. I'm holding down my spot. We're still moving. Don't worry about it. I may just be a little tiny gear in a gigantic machine. So, you know, restoration says I'm back on my jail. I'm back on my job. You know, it's not so much about fulfilling some great destiny or anything like that. It's just about restoring yourself to original intent. And you are not too old to do that. And in fact, trying to, you know, I was answering your second question by saying, when you say transforming to something, that's the only thing to transform to be honest with you, because even though we're talking about moving forward and all of the other stuff, it's the Sankofa vibration. What you'll find that in this great spiral, that the more forward you move, the more you're going to feel like a child again. So in many ways, the more ascended and elevated you become in this, the more childlike, and the more things that you gave up in your childhood that you miss, you're going to find yourself being those things again. That's a form of restoration.
Understood. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Enjoy your evening. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, restoration is key, man. I'm telling you, because we're restoring ourselves back to our rightful privilege, the rightful privilege that you were given when you came to the planet, that gets trained out of you. Sometimes it gets beaten out of you, but it gets trained out of you, you know, or sometimes you're overused, like that rickety rackety chair. No one puts a screwdriver to it. They just keep flopping down in it and abusing it and abusing it and abusing it and abusing it. And then now, you know, you need to feel restored. Because, like, what do we say? We take a cold shower or get a nice drink, say, I feel restored. And what does restored mean? I feel like myself again. I've shaken the layers off of the identity, and I feel like me again. All right. I know I said that was the last call. We're going to take one more, because we're also broadcasting simultaneously on YouTube right now, just so you guys all know. So I can do whatever I want. It's a little bit more flexible, but this one last call. Skype call. You're on Chief Speak. You're on Thunderground Thursday. Skype call. Skype call. Skype
Hi, Chief.
call. Hey, peace, Georgette.
Can you hear me? Oh my God. Oh, peace, Chief.
Oh, by the way, I'm a psychic.
Actually,
I don't know if anybody knew that too. So sometimes, you know, I do weird stuff like that. I knew it was you.
Yeah. Actually, you know, for the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to get through to the Sunday show, just to really, you know, send my gratitude to you and your staff. You guys are doing a phenomenal job, and you know, it's making a difference in a lot. Well, it's made a difference in my life anyway. I had another question, but you know what? I'm not going to address that tonight, because I was kind of wavering to and fro, but I'll just send out the positive vibes to you and your staff, and just let you know that I appreciate all that you do, and I hope that you just continue on your journey and just continue elevated.
Give thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Georgette. I appreciate that.
All right.
All right. Enjoy your evening.
Okay.
All right.
You too.
All right. She probably had a heavy question. That's what it was. She was like, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, this has been a nice show. He hasn't gone off on anybody. And I probably have a go off on me question. So I'll save it for Sunday morning. No, I'm joking. But anyway, and I think Georgette was at the last webinar we did, the herbs webinar. Yeah, and I'm going to also thank you all for coming through for the webinar. Pretty good turnout. And, you know, remember, we got another one coming next month, the 13th, I think, on oils. Spiritual gifts, or the magic of oils is what we're dealing with. So we have herbs. I told you guys before, we just did the herbs one, which is also going to be a class, and it's going to be a video, and there's a book coming on that one. Okay, so we're supporting the webinars with some other pieces that we're adding. Also, the same thing for the oils webinar. But it's good to catch the webinars first, because then you can ask the questions you want to ask. You know, when you ask the question, some of you guys wait to everybody does the same thing, and you know, and I understand sometimes. Like, I know Kim was bombing you guys with information. You know, so I know what happens. I can say it. You get stupefied. I know what it is. So when she's bombing you, and then she's like, okay, questions? It's like, hold on, wait a minute. I'm still trying to go through my notes, you know? And then afterwards, it's like, when you start putting the pieces together, then, you know, you have your questions. So what we said we were going to do is, like, from the moment we announced the webinars, we're going to start creating like a question form for those of you who are going to attend, so you can have your questions ready. So when you get to the webinar, all you got to do is just post inside of the webinar, because you got that Q&A form. You just post your questions from the very beginning. Boom. So that way, because you might, some of you have questions that are not even, they're related to the webinar, but they're not necessarily about everything that was said. Like I know on the herbs webinar, somebody asked like, where's a good place to go get the herbs? Like, and and another person was like, can I go to the park to get my own herbs? So those type of questions weren't like a part of the presentation, but yet they were still answered. And obviously that was probably a question somebody had before the webinar even started. So that's what we're going to do, so that way everybody can get this stuff answered. But anyway, that has been our Thunderground Thursday, dealing with the concept of restoration, bringing ourselves back to our original build. I know this was a different kind of show because it was live and we had all these callers. So I hope that people got something, through all the callers and everything. I hope you still were able to get what you were supposed to get out of the segment. All right. So thank you again for listening. Tomorrow, Foundational Friday, 9 p.m. I think I'm gonna do it live again. Yeah, I'm feeling it. So it's gonna be broadcasted on YouTube. We'll send out the YouTube link, and you can always post your comments and questions right there in the YouTube video. And please, when you see the video, please share it, like it, comment on it, and subscribe to that Enlightenment and Transformation channel as you're listening. All you gotta do is push the little button. Just hit the button. It's not hard. You got all this information for an hour. Just hit the freaking button. Okay, it's not going to take anything away from you. And the like button. Hit the like button and hit the doggone subscribe button. So I got to get, I got to get metaphysical mafia on some of you. Give back sometimes. See how Georgette called in and gave back? Give back sometimes. Hit the freaking subscribe button. It's just a click or a push on your tablet. Yeah, but anyway, that's enough of that. One love, one light, one aim, one vision. I'm not gonna say one God, because it is more than one God. So, but just oneness, man. And I look forward to speaking to you all tomorrow. It'll be a live show again. Heads up. So if you want to call in with your questions, we can build on that. All right. See you all tomorrow. Hotep Pu.